hope you're having fun learning at home. And welcome to this edition of the online class organized just to make you happy. This is your teacher, Ms. Blessing Oyadelemi, and the subject is English language. Our topic is English grammar, the clause. Now, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words containing a finite verb and expresses a complete thought. A clause contains a finite verb and expresses a complete thought. Look at these examples. They ran, we go home, that he was coming. These are examples of sentences. They are also called simple sentences, so they are clauses. A clause is also a simple sentence. Now, example 1 contains the subject and a finite verb. Why do we call ran a finite verb? It's a finite verb because it expresses tense. This is a simple past tense. They ran is in the simple past tense. Look at example 2. We go home. Go in this sentence expresses habitual action. So it is a finite verb because it expresses tense. Remember, the tense is simple present. And then we have that he was coming. It is a clause. It's a clause because it contains a finite verb, was coming. Was coming is past continuous tense. And so we have these examples as our examples of clauses. Remember, I said that the clause is also a simple sentence. Now let's look at the classification of clauses. We have two types of clauses. We have the main clause, which is also called the independent clause, and the subordinate clause, which is also called the dependent clause. What makes the distinction between the main clause and the subordinate clause? Watch this. A main clause expresses a complete thought and is not dependent on any other clause for its meaning. A main clause expresses a complete thought. It has subject, verb, and other elements. It could be object, it could be complement. Now look at these examples. The boys came here. The boys as subject, came as came as verb, and here as complement. The boys came here. Came is our finite verb. This is a main clause. It expresses a complete thought. The boys did not see us. The boys as subject, did not see as verb, and us as object. We went to the market. We as subject, went as verb, to the market as adjunct, which indicates place. We bought 3 goats. We as subject, bought as verb, and 3 goats as object. These are examples of main clauses. Main clauses express complete thoughts and do not depend on other clauses for their meanings. Now, the subordinate clause. A subordinate clause does not have an independent status. A subordinate clause is a type of clause that depends on the main clause for its complete meaning. A subordinate clause usually is introduced by a linking word, which shows its relationship with the main clause on which it depends. The examples on the screen are, he came because we invited him. In example 1, the underlined part of the sentence is because we invited him. That's a subordinate clause introduced by a linking word, which is also a conjunction, because. Because we invited him is a subordinate clause that does not have an independent status. What do we mean by that? It does not express a complete thought on its own. We need the other part of the sentence, he came, to give us a clear understanding of what because we invited him means. Now, number 2 does not have the first part, which is the independent clause. It only has a dependent clause. Now, that the men have arrived. I expect you to feel that in yourself. That the men have arrived is a subordinate clause. If they leave very early because she won the trophy. These are examples of subordinate clauses. Now, it is important that we look at these types of subordinate clauses and identify them in sentences. We need to understand what types of subordinate clauses we have and then identify them in sentences. Subordinate clauses are often described according to their functions and structures. It simply means that we identify them according to their functions in sentences and also using the structure. For the structure, we will look at the forms of these subordinate clauses. So what are the types of subordinate clauses we have? We have the noun clause, the relative clause or adjectival clause, and the adverbial clause. Now, the word clause is attached to the words we have learned before. For example, we have learned what a noun is, what an adjective is, and what an adverb is. Today we are looking at these grammatical units in clauses. So we have noun clauses, relative or adjectival clause, and adverbial clause. So the noun clause. A noun clause is a subordinate clause which is used as a noun and performs the functions of a noun in a sentence. It is used as a noun and performs the function of a noun in a sentence. Examples of noun clauses and their functions. Before we discuss that, let us remember that nouns are naming words, and we have identified their functions as subject of the verb, object of the verb, subject complement, and object or complement of the preposition. Now, as clauses, they perform these same functions in sentences. A noun clause can perform the subject function. That means it can act as a subject in the sentence. It can also act as object, can also act as complement of subject, complement of object, or sub-object or complement of preposition. Now, example 1. That he failed his exams was a great shock. The underlined expression here is that he failed his exams. That's the subject of the verb was, and it is a noun clause. What they asked them to do embarrassed everyone. The underlined expression, what they asked them to do, is a noun clause and it functions as subject of the verb embarrassed. The children will eat whatever is available to them. It's also a noun clause contained in that sentence, whatever is available to them, and it functions as object of the verb will eat. Sentence 4 has the point is that he should pay. That he should pay is a noun clause and it functions as complement of the subject. The principal will award the certificate to whichever house that performs best. Could be Nnamdi Azikiwe house, Herbert Macaulay's house, Obafemi Awolowo house, or any other house. But what we have is whichever house that performs best, which is a noun clause as object of the preposition to. Now, functions of noun clauses. The functions are the ones we have identified earlier as subject of a verb, object of a verb, complement of a subject, complement of object, and complement of preposition. For today's class, we've come to the end of this lesson. In our next class, we will discuss other types of clauses. But before then, we will identify the form of noun clauses. Do have a wonderful day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands regularly, use your face mask, and maintain social distance. Bye-bye.